G'day guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, exciting video, I'm going to be comparing my Rapsodo MLM2PRO to my Uneekor iMini. I'm going to be stepping through the full shots, starting with our 60-yard carry shot, working my way up through to driver. It's the exact same test that you've seen in my other videos. I won't be doing chipping today, and the reason for that is we're still waiting on a firmware update for the Rapsodo, so I'm going to wait for that firmware update to come out, and then I'll do the chipping. I will be using GS Pro as my software of choice for this test for the Uneekor, and the reason for that is I can still read the yardages off, the carry yardages off the actual unit itself, and they will vary just slightly to what I'm seeing in GS Pro, but GS Pro is my software of choice. But I will be calling out the yardages from the actual Uneekor itself, which is using the Uneekor algorithm. So let's jump into the practice range. We'll just go to the standard driving range for this. And like I said, I'm going to start off with my 60-yard carry shots. Okay, so for this test, I am using my Titleist golf ball, Titleist Pro V1. I do have the Rapsodo Ball Dots on there. These dots, I'll leave a link in the description if you want to get these dots. At the end of the day with these dots, people have been saying they're not durable, but for me, I don't want to spend a couple of $100s on a box of RPT balls when I don't use Callaway golf balls. So for me, using Titleist golf balls, the balls that I actually play on course, and using these dots, I'm going to do that every time. I just really make a conscious effort to not actually make contact with these dots and the club face. All right, let's get into it. 60-yard carry. Okay, first shot, we had 55 yards carry on GS Pro. We had 54.3 yards carry on the unit itself, and we had 57 yards carry on the Rapsodo. All of them, I mean, they're within a yard or two. That is perfectly accurate. For spin rates, we had 8,200, call it, on the Uneekor iMini. We had 8,000 on the MLM2PRO. So far, so good. Guys, if you do like these videos, if you watch my videos, please do subscribe to the channel because it does help out and I would really appreciate it. Okay, so we had 61.1 yards carry on GS Pro. We had 59.9 yards carry on the actual iMini itself, and we had 65 yards carry on the Rapsodo. So a little bit of a discrepancy there between the iMini and GS Pro, which agreed with each other, and we had 4 yards extra carry on the Rapsodo unit. In terms of spin rates, again, pretty close. There's 100 RPM in it. Everything else looks pretty good. Let's look at vertical launch angle. We had 30.5 on the iMini, and we had 31.2 on the MLM2PRO. Okay, let's go for one more shot. Go in. Oh, so close. Right, we had a 59 yards carry on GS Pro. We had 57.7 yards carry on the iMini. We had 65, I don't know if it registered the shot actually. It might have had a misread there on the, or a no read, sorry, on the MLM2PRO. So we might hit one more shot because I don't think that read. Okay, we had 58 yards carry, or 58.4 on GS Pro, 57.3 on the iMini, and 63 yards carry on the Rapsodo. So a little bit extra carry there on the Rapsodo on these short shots. Spin rates, we had 8,444 versus 8,300. So spin rates are pretty identical. Launch angle, we had 30.8 on the MLM2PRO, and we had 30.9 on the iMini. So, I mean, pretty much identical there. Okay, so that is the 60-yard shots done. Now let's jump into pitching wedge. Not the best strike, left the face just a little bit open. Let's have a look at the data. So we had 133.5 on GS Pro carry. We had 132 on the iMini unit itself, and we had 132 on the Rapsodo MLM2PRO. In terms of spin, again, there's 100 RPM in it. In terms of spin axis, we had 0.2 to the right on the MLM2PRO. We had 1.5 to the right with the iMini. So the iMini picked up a bit more of a fade. Oh, not a good strike there. Hit that heavy, but we'll capture the data anyway. We had 129.8 yards carry on GS Pro. We had 129 yards carry on the unit itself, and we had 132 yards carry on the MLM2 Pro. Looking at spin axis, we had a negative 2.4 on the Rapsodo. Looking at spin axis, we had a negative 4 on the iMini. So again, the iMini picking up on a bit more of a draw than the MLM2 Pro. Spin rates were pretty much identical again. All right, let's try and hit a solid pitching wedge. Little bit better, but still not great. We had 134 yards carry in GS Pro. We had 133 yards carry on the unit itself, 132 yards carry on the MLM2 Pro. Did that register the shot? I don't know if that registered the shot there, so I'll hit another one. Okay, better strike there. We had 136 yards carry, 136.7 in GS Pro, I should say, 136 exactly on the iMini, and we had 135 yards carry on the Rapsodo unit. Spin rates, we had 9,354 versus 9,000. Pretty accurate there. The Rapsodo had that as a 1.2 degree fade, and the iMini had it a 1.5 degree draw. So that's interesting. To me, that felt like a little draw, but it's interesting seeing that little discrepancy there. Okay, let's hit one more pitching wedge. Okay, we had 134.7 yards carry in GS Pro, 134 yards carry on the iMini itself, and we had 135 yards carry with the MLM2 Pro. Spin axis, we had 0.8 of a degree to the right on the MLM2 Pro, and we had a 1 degree spin axis to the right on the iMini. So those two shots there, spin rates, 200 RPM difference. So those two shots there were pretty much identical. Let's have a look at ball speeds and club speeds. So ball speed there on the iMini, we had 104.8 and then a club speed of 87.1. So looking at that, 86 and 103. So yeah, pretty much identical there. So very happy with those. There was that one pitching wedge with that slight discrepancy, but I mean, when you're talking about a degree here and there, there's got to be some tolerances in there. So pretty good. Let's now go to 7-iron. A little bit out to the right. We had 169.7 in GS Pro, 169 on the unit itself, and we had 168 on the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro. Looking at spin axis, we had a negative 0.6, so a little bit of a draw on the iMini. We had 2.5 right, so a little fade on the MLM2 Pro. So that's a little bit of a discrepancy there. So we had a slight left spin axis or dead straight versus a little bit of a fade. Very interesting. And you know, when you are comparing two units like this, one of them's using radar and camera, the other one's using two cameras, they could potentially be slightly interfering with each other. So take this with a grain of salt, I guess. Okay, a little bit of a draw. We had 175.3 on GS Pro, 174 on the iMini itself, and 175 on the MLM2 Pro. In terms of spin axis, we had a 3.7, negative 3.7, so a draw with the iMini. We had a negative 1.4, so a draw with the MLM2 Pro. We had 124 ball speed on the iMini with 90 clubhead speed, and we had 124 and 92 clubhead speed on the MLM2 Pro. So again, pretty similar numbers. We're just seeing a bit more of a draw with the iMini versus the MLM2 Pro. Let's go one more 7-iron. Not the best strike. A little bit heavy, but we'll get the data. We had 166.1 on GS Pro, 165 on the iMini itself, and 168 on the MLM2 Pro. In terms of spin rates, we had 6,900 on the MLM2 Pro, 6,782 on the iMini. Spin axis, we had negative 1.1 on the MLM2 Pro. We had negative 1.4 on the iMini. So the data is pretty much identical, really. Looking at ball and club speeds, we had 121 and 91 on the MLM2 Pro. We had 119 and 89 on the iMini. A little bit of a discrepancy in there, but not much. We're talking, you know, a mile an hour, 2 mile an hour difference in ball speed. Okay, let's move up to 4-iron. And with both of these units, they're both still ironing out all of their software. I know the iMini's already had a few software updates, and I'd hazard a guess to say they're still working on and refining their algorithm. This is the first unit that Uneekor have made as a side or portable launch monitor. The other launch monitors that have made in the past are all overhead launch monitors. Okay, we had 207 yards carry, or 206.9 on GS Pro, 207 yards carry on the iMini, 207 yards carry on the MLM2 Pro. That's incredibly accurate and everything's the exact same. Now, here we go though. In terms of shot shape, the iMini had that as a slight fade. So the spin axis was 3.4 to the right, and it's 3.4 to the right on the unit itself. Spin axis on the MLM2 Pro was 0.0, so it was a dead straight shot, whereas the iMini is saying it was a little bit of a fade. In terms of ball speeds and club speeds, we had 137 ball speed, 96 club speed on the MLM2 Pro. We had 136 and 97.5 on the iMini. Club speed a little bit quicker on the iMini. Ball speeds pretty similar. There's a mile an hour difference. Okay, let's hit another 4-iron. Oh, that was a bad strike. Definitely duff that one, but we'll get the data. 196.9 on GS Pro, 196 on the unit itself, 193 on the MLM2 Pro. Let's have a look at spin axis. So we had 2.3 degrees to the right on the MLM2 Pro, and we had 0.5 to the left on the iMini. So again, the iMini showing a slight draw. I did toe that, and the MLM2 Pro saying that that is a slight fade. So very interesting. Ball speeds, identical. 130 on the MLM2 Pro, 130 on the iMini. Club head speeds, 95 on the MLM2 Pro, 94.5 on the iMini. That was a really nice strike. Okay, we had 206 yards carry on GS Pro, we had 206 yards carry on the iMini, and we had 204 yards carry on the MLM2 Pro. Spin axis, we had 0.3 of a degree right, so the babiest of fades on the Rapsodo. We had 0.2 left, so the babiest of draws on the iMini. Both of those are so small, that would look dead straight in real life. I mean, to me, that's pretty much identical. In terms of spin rates, we had 4,500 on the iMini, we had 4,500 on the MLM2 Pro. Those are identical. Ball speeds are identical, 136. 96 club head speed on the Rapsodo, 96.6 on the iMini. I mean, that is pretty much identical. Let's look at launch angle. So we had 13.6 on the iMini, we had 12.9 or 13 on the MLM2 Pro. So again, I mean, that's pretty much the exact same shot on both units. Okay, now what you've all been waiting for. Let's get out the driver, let's bomb some drives, and let's see how the distances compare from the Rapsodo to the iMini. Not the best strike there, that was out the heel. We'll see what we get. So we had 251.7 yards carry on GS Pro, 254 on the iMini, and we had 260 on the MLM2 Pro. In terms of spin axis, 5.6 right on the MLM2 Pro, 12.1 on the iMini. So that's quite a significant fade. I mean, you'd probably call it a slice versus what we saw on the Rapsodo. In terms of spin, both are saying 3,200 there or thereabouts. Ball speeds, we had 157 on the Rapsodo, we had 155.7 on the iMini, and club speed we had 109 on the MLM2 Pro versus 111.3 on the iMini. Quite a bit in that one. They're quite different. That's the biggest discrepancy we've had over any of the shots. And I guess if you're going to have a discrepancy, drive is probably where you're going to see a big discrepancy between these two units. Okay, let's try and hit one decent. Again, not the best shot. Let's have a look at the data. We had 255 yards carry on GS Pro, 257 on the iMini itself, 260 again on the MLM2 Pro. Very similar shots. That was low out the heel, so the spin just kicked up like crazy. In terms of spin axis, 4.8 on the MLM2 Pro, 4.8 on the iMini. That's good to see. Club head speeds, 111, 108. Ball speeds, 159 on the MLM2 Pro versus 158 on the iMini. Launch angles are different, 12.6 on the MLM2 Pro versus 13.4 on the iMini. Again, that's high right. Not swinging the driver good today, unfortunately. Hopefully I'll start hitting it better. Let's have a look at the data. We had 272 essentially yards carry on GS Pro, 276 on the iMini itself, and 277 on the MLM2 Pro. So the carry distances are correct. Let's look at club head speed, ball speeds, 162 and 111 on the Rapsodo, 162 and 113.6 on the iMini. And looking at the spin rates, they are pretty much identical. Spin axis, 11.2 on the Rapsodo versus 8.1 on the iMini. Okay, a little bit of a better strike there, so we'll leave that in. It was still low on the face. We had 265.7 on GS Pro. We had 269 on the unit itself. We had 270 on the Rapsodo. Again, the data's accurate. Looking at ball speeds, we had 161.7 on the iMini. We've had 163 on the Rapsodo, 114 club head speed on the Rapsodo, 113 club head speed on the iMini. Spin axis, we had 0.3 left versus negative 4.5. So the Rapsodo actually saying that there was a bit more of a draw there. Again, I'm just hitting it out the heel today. We had 268.8 yards carry on GS Pro. We had 273 yards carry on the iMini itself. We had 273 yards carry on the Rapsodo. Ball speeds, a little bit of a discrepancy. So we had 163 on the Rapsodo, 160 on the iMini. Club head speeds, 110 on the Rapsodo versus 113 on the iMini. In terms of spin axis, we had a little fade 2 degrees right on the Rapsodo, and we had dead straight on the iMini. So driver, we are seeing a little bit of a discrepancy between the two units. The carry distances seem to be pretty good though. And I guess the good thing is I'm not hitting it good today, but at least we're seeing mishits, and we're seeing that even though I'm mishitting these balls, they're still pretty close. They're pretty similar in terms of data. Okay, we had 273.5 on GS Pro. We had 278 on the iMini itself. We had 276 on the MLM2 Pro. So, I mean, the carry distances have been actually very accurate between all three of the softwares, even though we've seen some of the actual data be a little bit different. So, for instance, the ball speed there on the iMini was 161.5 versus 163 on the Rapsodo. In terms of club head speed as well, we had 110 on the Rapsodo. We had 113.8 on the iMini. Looking at spin axis, we had 7.3 left on the iMini versus 1.8 left on the MLM2 Pro. Very interesting. $273.4 on GS Pro, 280 yards carry on the iMini, 271 yards carry on the MLM2 Pro. Now, I don't know if that captured it, the MLM2 Pro actually, because that's quite different to what I'm seeing. In terms of spin rates, they were significantly different. Okay, finish on a good one. We had 281 yards carry on GS Pro. We had 287 yards carry on the iMini itself. We had 288 yards carry on the MLM2 Pro. We finally hit one somewhere near the middle. Looking at all the other data, so spin rates, we had 2488 versus 2200, so a couple of hundred RPMs in it. Launch angle, we had 13 on the Rapsodo versus 14 on the iMini. Spin axis, we had negative 3.1 versus negative 6.2. So again, a little bit of a discrepancy there in the spin axis. Ball speeds, we had 163.9 versus 166. Club head speeds, 114 on the Rapsodo versus 113.6 on the iMini. All right, one more, why not? We had 283.5 on GS Pro, 289 on the unit itself, 285 on the MLM2 Pro. Club head speeds and ball speeds, we had 165 versus 164.4. Club head speed, we had 116 on the MLM2 Pro versus 115 on the iMini. Spin rates, we had 2282 on the MLM2 Pro versus 2370 on the iMini. So those ones are a bit closer. Those ones are pretty much identical there. That's good to see. All right, guys, so wrapping all of that up, 60-yard shots. We saw the MLM2 Pro give us a little bit of extra yardage on those little 60-yard shots. As we got to the irons, they both seemed pretty much identical. When we moved into driver, however, that's when we started to see some of a discrepancy, and there wasn't really a common consistent theme or pattern. It was kind of good that I didn't hit my driver well, because you got to see a lot of mishits and we saw a lot of shots that weren't perfect. There was actually a little bit of a discrepancy with some of the spin axis. So that's quite interesting. I will keep an eye on that. In terms of yardages though, when I did hit it good, those two shots at the end, both of the units were pretty much identical. That is my initial impressions of both units. Both of them performed really well. The Rapsodo did miss a couple of shots, but overall it performed very well. And considering its price point, I think put up quite a good fight against the iMini. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, let me know. Make sure you subscribe if you do enjoy or watch these videos. I would really appreciate it. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.